Zach again at newtutorial.com, coming in making a video for you today. I'm going to do a video on biblical archaeology and some of maybe the studies of anthropology, some of the other related fields of science. I've done some videos recently on the Decalogue Stone. It was the documentary by David Coatney. It's called The Mystery Stone. Great documentary, loved it. I think you should go out and check it out. Also, I did a recent video on the book, The Gold of Exodus. It's a book, not really a novel. It's nonfiction, but it's kind of written in the way of a novel. Very good book. You know, lots of true stories in there. Very fascinating, entertaining for sure, and pretty much family friendly. So great book, The Gold of Exodus. Check that out. And I've done videos on archaeology and some findings before. I mean, that's something I talk about a lot. This week on Facebook, I posted a picture of a discovery that took place in Egypt. It was a giant sarcophagus. And so this is something that I really enjoy reading about. Okay, I'm not an expert in any stretch of the imagination. You know, I don't even try to claim to be any type of knowledgeable person in this field. I do, however, really enjoy reading about it. And so I have opinions about it. Let me straighten my camera there. So anyway, because I enjoy reading about it and checking it all out and researching this stuff, I want to do a video on it because I get a lot of emails when I present these things. And I just had a comment today on one of my videos saying, there's no proof of the Bible. There's no any proof of anywhere in the world of the Bible. It's just a fanciful story. And so when I present truths and things like that on my channel of discoveries, that absolutely prove the Bible and the things contained therein true, people will come and they'll email or they'll comment and say, Zach, why can't we all get together and present this evidence? Why can't we show the world? Why is this evidence being suppressed, or why is it so fragmented? Why is it so fragmented in all these different locations that we can't get it together and prove the Bible to be true? I think there are some reasons for that. Number one, probably the Father's plan, okay? You know, he's doing this on his own timetable, and those who seek will find it, right? Also, I think that we need to kind of understand how this all plays out on the world stage, you know, just within these fields of science. And this is just my opinion, okay? Just my opinion. Number one, here, we'll go down this road. So understand, I think, archaeologists, anthropologists, you need to understand that these people do not produce a product. They don't produce a service. They don't produce anything. They rely 100% on the funding that people give them, you know, for their paycheck. Okay, their kids' college funds and you know, the money they use to go out to eat at night, whatever. Anything that they have is all provided by someone else. They don't produce anything. They don't produce a product. They don't produce a service. Nothing. They are almost always 100% funded by other people. So, and many of them are volunteers. They don't get paid anything. You know, they go out there. I know lots of people who go to Israel and work on a dig site for 2 weeks for free, just for the you know, the satisfaction of saying they have worked on such projects or whatever. So many of them don't get paid at all. But the people, even at the very top, you know, these expert archaeologists who are degreed and all, they don't get paid at all because of a product or service. They get paid by people's funding. So who are the people who fund these projects? They're not the little people, you know, who send in $20, $50, even a couple $100, or even a couple $1,000 for these projects. Usually these are big name donors. You know, people who who've come out of big universities, who are very rich, people who are the philanthropists of the world, the Bill Gates, you know, the Elon Musk, all these, you know, and people we've never even heard of who are millionaires and billionaires, and they write checks for, you know, $600,000 to a university for a research project that they're interested in because it's something that they like this stuff too. They're interested in these things. And so they find someone who's maybe doing a project on such and such dig, and they write a check for a few $100,000 or even $1 million or whatever. And it's those people who fund these projects. Now, all those people have agendas. All those people also, just like you and me, they have biases. They have a worldview of what is true and what is not true. So are they going to go out and try to do a dig? You know, fund a dig somewhere in the Sinai or somewhere on the Gulf of Aqaba or somewhere in Egypt or somewhere in Jerusalem that is going to prove the existence of the Bible? For the most part, no. Now, there are some, you know, within that group of, you know, philanthropists who do believe in the Bible. They are very small, okay? They are a very small minority of people. So I think here's the deal. We have to understand that archaeologists, anthropologists, people in these fields of sciences don't produce a product. They're all 100% funded. Most of the funding comes from people who don't have a biblical worldview. And then, of the people in this field, the philanthropists or even archaeologists, the learned, degreed, professionals, there's a very, very thin slice of people who have a biblical worldview. Okay, and they go out and they get funding. Most of the funding comes from universities or denominational authorities, such as the Southern Baptist Convention. The Southern Baptist Convention has their own research center and their own university that really funds a lot of these projects for the Southern Baptist Convention in the name of the Southern Baptist Convention. The Catholics have their own wing of this, the Methodists, the Episcopalians. So most of these major denominations in Christianity have the Mormons. They have the Brigham Young University research team. Most of these denominations have their own wings, their own segments that fund, the research that they want to do, and the money comes from people within those denominations who are well off, who can write the $1 million checks, who can write the $100,000 checks to fund these teams to do the research. And again, all those people have their own agendas and their own biases. So they go out and they make discoveries and they learn things. But also keep in mind that because they're funded, see, it's a really risky business because, let's just say someone has funded your project. You want to go out into a dig site and you have a thesis, you have a theory that you want to promote, that you believe is true based on scripture and research that you've done, and you want to try to do more research to prove this out. Well, you get a check for $2 million and you go out with your team and you go out and you do this research for 6 months or 2 months or even 3 weeks, whatever it is that costs, and you come up with some evidence that you think supports your theory. Because what happens is you want to get paid again to go back there. And so you have to come back with some evidence. And it's really easy for some of these people to use any evidence that they find to promote whatever, theory they have or hypothesis they have, and so that they can keep getting funding because, they want to keep feeding their families and they want to have a paycheck and they want to keep going out to dinner, with their families and, keep food on the table and all this stuff. So the only way to do that is to produce results. And sometimes the results are real and sometimes they're not. So this whole thing is very, very, sketchy. So when you research and you read this stuff like I do, and I love reading it, again, I'm not an expert in any of this, but you got to really learn to read between the lines. Is things as you see them real? Oftentimes they're not, even in the biblical worldview community. So keep in mind, again, where are we at here? This very small sliver of people who do have a biblical worldview, they can be tainted, okay, and they have to rely on funding just like all the other people in the gigantic, pie who don't have a biblical worldview. And amongst that small sliver of people who do have a biblical worldview, that small sliver is divided up even further, even smaller, because you have all these denominational authorities. And here's the deal, folks. Remember a video I did 2 years ago on all the 1 million bodies that were found south of Cairo? And the experts, the people who were digging there said, well, they were hastily dug graves. This was not, the normal Egyptian graves that we find, where the bodies are cared for meticulously. No, these were just holes and people thrown in them. That's all it was. Maybe, could it be that that's supporting evidence of the Exodus and the death of the firstborn of Egypt? If you have to get rid of a whole lot of bodies real quick, could it be possible? Now, do you think the Southern Baptists came and knocked on the Brigham Young University professors' doors and said, hey, that's some great evidence you have there. Can we use that because we can compare it with some of our evidence on a dig that we found before or something, some of our research? Do you think the Brigham Young University people are going to give that up? All of their research to the Southern Baptist? No, they will not do that because they don't want the Southern Baptists taking their research and combining it with their own and then publicizing it in some kind of publication to get credit for what the Brigham Young University team did. So again, you have this gigantic puzzle of archaeology or anthropology, whatever, these field sciences, and within that big giant pie, there's a small sliver of biblical worldview people. And then amongst that sliver, it's divided up even smaller amongst different denominational groups, different funding groups who have their own agendas, own biases. And so when you have all these different types of pieces of evidence, then there's lots of pieces of evidence of the Bible, folks, that prove the Bible to be credible and valid. But it's hard to get it all in one place because agendas, biases, and just all the nonsense that goes in with that, all the politics, all that stuff. And so it's very, now again, this is just my opinion. Okay, this is why I think we have such a hard time getting together on all these things. There's lots of discoveries that have taken place. I have my own opinions on lots of these things. I believe a lot of them to be true. I believe a lot of them not to be true. And you just kind of got to read between the lines. The big one everyone talks about a lot of times, it seems like within our circles, is Ron Wyatt. And I have seen a lot of his material. I've been studying it for years, and I've seen a lot of the material from people who say he was a complete quack and a fraudster. And mostly what I read from when I go back and I look at the research from people who claim Ron Wyatt was lying or a fraudster, what I really read is not really any evidence. It's just that I hate Ron Wyatt. That's kind of what I read out of those things. So here's the deal when it comes to Ron Wyatt. Ron Wyatt was either a magnificent liar or he really truly was being used by the Father. Time will tell. At some point we're going to figure out, that answer. Anyway, again, very fascinating. There's lots of different places, lots of different finds, and I love sharing these things on Facebook. I love talking about it because they are fascinating. And really there is a gigantic worldwide effort to hide things that come out that do support the validity of the Bible. And it's amazing how these things resurface themselves. I think it's only the work of the Father that these things actually resurface because they can't be hidden forever. And I think the Father wants his people to know that these things are real. And those who do seek out after these things and who do take the time to do their own research and read between the lines, you're going to find what truth is here. And all it says to me is that the Bible is real. The Bible is true. Great topic. Great topic. I don't know. What do you guys think? Leave a comment below. I mean, what do you think about anything? Are you guys even researching this stuff? Do you have the time? I know life is busy. And so I know a lot of people don't have the time to put to read these articles and to just do research. You could do a whole year's research on just Mount Sinai or even just parts of Mount, like the rock of the split rock research. Reading that website and digging down rabbit trails that it sends you on. There's just so many things that you could spend time on and enjoy, in your spare time, and read about that prove the validity of the Bible. What else would you rather? You could, sit on your couch and watch sports if you wanted to, on the weekends, or you could go out and learn more about the Bible and how it's true and some of the supporting facts behind that. Anyway, what do you guys think? Put a comment below. Love to hear from you. We'll leave it at that, and I'll just keep sharing this stuff when I see it. All right, go home, read your Bible. Thanks.